Hey, it's Ethan here at eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install these Glacier Chain Cable Snow Tire Chains on our 2021 Ford F-150. These are going to be on tire size 275/65 R18. Make sure you check the fit guide at etrailer.com to get the right fit for your tire size. Also, as per the owner's manual, we have them on our rear axle. Make sure you're double checking that to make sure or to verify that you're getting the chains on the right tire. But these are essentially going to be sort of an emergency case only chains. Maybe you live in an area where you don't get a ton of ice and snow, but you need some chains, whether it's legally required to have them, or maybe you just get one snow every once in a while and you want to be safe. These will be a good option for you, so let's check them out. The chains are in a ladder style pattern, which means they go straight across the tire. They're parallel to one another, and they run straight across, which typically helps with starting and stopping, but in normal cases, you feel them more than you would your diamond pattern or angled chains. But in these cases, we do have these rollers that go across the cables, which help minimize some of that sound, noise, and that feeling of bumping up and down because you're rolling across the chains rather than having square links digging in. They're going to be made of a low carbon steel, so they're not going to hold up quite as well to long-term use as something like a manganese nickel alloy or any alloy chain for that matter. Because they do have that low profile though, you're sacrificing a little bit of that bite into ice and snow, and instead you get that Class S compatibility standard where it is low profile enough that if we did have limited wheel well clearance, which in our case we don't, then we would verify that these wouldn't rub up against anything in the struts or the suspension while you're moving. The chains do come two to a set in this pretty lightweight plastic bag. These roller style chains are notoriously difficult to roll back up and get back in here, especially if they're wet or icy or snowy after you just took them off. So if you do get these chains, I would recommend upgrading to something bigger and a little bit more robust to keep them in whatever you decide to use. Also, we do have these rubber tensioners, which I would definitely recommend using for these chains, just because once we get it tightened up, that's the only tension that you get in there. This will help keep a little bit of that while you're moving, but we'll take a closer look at that in the install section. So overall, installing these chains isn't too terribly difficult, but you will have to get on or under and around to make that connection unless you choose to roll onto the chains. So if you're stranded on the side of the road, I definitely recommend looking into these in your garage or something before you find yourself in that position, just to make sure you know what you're doing. But if you need a little bit of help, we'll walk you through that process now. To start the install process, first thing I like to do typically is just lay the chains out flat, just making sure that nothing is caught up or twisted or tangled. For these chains, we want to make sure that that lever there is on the side facing us because we will have to interact with that once we get it on, and we want to make sure the chains are facing the right way. To do that, we look at this connection here where we match the cables to the end of the other cable right here. We want to make sure that with this hook, we'd rather not have that rubbing up against the tread of the tire. So we want this flat part facing down or facing the tread of the tire. So if we have it the way that I have it here, we're ready to go. From here, just do your best to center the chains up, and then we'll grab towards the back and drape them over our tire. Just doing our best to keep everything as even as we can, front to back, left to right. We'll fold these ends under here on either side, and then we'll make our first connection on the back side. We're just going to fit these metal studs through this catch plate here. It looks like we have a pretty good fit on the tire, so I'm going to go for just the second one here, and I'm going to do the connection on the front, and then we can come back and adjust that if we need to. The process is going to be just about the same on the front side, but we have a lever on this side. First thing we're going to do again is just fit those studs into that catch plate. For this one, I'm probably going to try to go for the third one. And we got that there, and now I'm going to lever this arm backwards until we can get it to fit on the other side. We might have to move that red hook out of the way. Those are just there in case you have enough excess on this cable here to fit into there. In our case we do not, but we have a pretty good fit. From here we are going to put on one of these rubber tensioners. Definitely recommend using it with these style of chains, just because once we get that handle tightened down, that's the only tension we're getting into our chains. So hook side out, we're going to put them on similar to how you would put a tire on or take it off, just going in a sort of star-shaped pattern. And as we're bumping and moving along while we're driving, these are going to be a nice backup feature for you just to keep things a little bit more secure as the chains start to shift. Once you have the chains on and the tensioner, make sure you do the same process for your passenger side tire. Roll forward and backwards a few times just to make sure that everything is in place and secure and you're ready to hit the road. Just to reiterate what these chains are going to be good for, so if you do live in an area where you get just a little bit of light snow every once in a while and you just want to be safe, or again if you have or passing through or living in an area where you are legally required to have some sort of traction device in your car, these are going to be a great option for you. They're going to come in at a really nice value price, and overall they still work. They're just not my favorite option. If you do need to upgrade to something, I would suggest looking into some kind of chain with square links just to get a little bit better bite into ice and snow. But in any case, this right here was just a quick look at the Glacier Chain Cable Snow Tire Chains, how they work, how to install them on our 2021 Ford F-150.